for young women who don't know, because lesbian history is frequently wiped out. When we're there, then we get erased. I've been an out lesbian. I think I was outed by a member of the Daily Mail in 1986 when I became leader of Lambeth Council. I chose not to put on my CV that I was lesbian, and I said to the group that if the issue came up, I would of course acknowledge that I'm a proud lesbian. So that was me outing myself to them, but I didn't think that the voters of Lambeth actually cared who I slept with, but they did care when the bins got emptied. And I did my best to ensure that the bins were bleeding empty. On time and within cost. Anyway. I've been a bit of an expert in equality law, and I brought with me a rather worn out copy of the Equality Act 2010. And in it, we have a description of a thing called, in fact I've also got with me the Gender Recognition Act. These are the laws that currently exist. We know that they want to change the law, but it hasn't yet changed. The law is the law. And people, including people in the Labour Party, and indeed in the Conservative Party and the Conservative government, need to abide by the law. They're bloody quick telling us how we should abide by the law, and I think they should be reminded that they are equally obliged to abide by acts passed by Parliament, this and the Equality Act. What is it, a protected characteristic, and by the way, some of these children, because I think they act like children, even if they are over 18, some of these children don't seem to know what the law says or what it does. If they want to call me a TERF, I might have words to say to them about their ethnicity, but I won't. In the protected characteristics are, they're in alphabetical order: age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex and sexual orientation. So the category sex covers us, and it covers men. Gender recognition is a different thing, so the law recognises men and women. And it might make mistakes from time to time, so that somebody has to undergo medical. There are a very small number of people who are intersex, and the law recognises that. But some of the young people, or some of the older people who are seeking to do damage to women, don't know what this law says. How on earth can we be accused of being, I don't know what are the blasted words, a TERF? When I start calling some people non-black, I think, and let's make a habit of it. It's equivalent. It's absolutely ludicrous, and my concern is about words like gender, because I don't know, there's gender recognition and gender reassignment, actually. Well, if you reassign your gender, if you go through a process outlined in this document, the Gender Recognition Act, then you come under the category of gender reassignment. But otherwise, we are men or women. That's the law. They act as though the law has changed as to what they want it to be. And a lot of women in this country, not women who would necessarily come to a meeting like this, would not be happy to hear that the things that they have grown up with, the things that our mothers and our sisters or our daughters, or in my case, our granddaughters have grown up with, are necessarily wrong and need to be changed, so that being a woman, being female, is now whatever men say it is. Because that's where we're going. That's what this stuff is about. Being told by young people who grew up as men that we are wrong and that we should get in our place. Like we were less than 100 years ago, no women in this country could vote. 100 years. How dare they today tell us what we must call ourselves and what we must call them, and that they now have the privileges that we fought for. So, for example, we're seeing in the Labour Party, and it's just been outlined, there is a special place in the Labour Party structure for women because we have been systematically marginalised, excluded, not even allowed to vote. And now, what do? But come along and say, no, we're going to take that from you. You are going to go back to the second-class status that you have had historically. You know, ironically, some parts of Saudi Arabia's politics seem a bit more avant-garde than ours. So I don't want to say a huge amount more. I am mindful of what the law says. There are procedures that we should, all of us, exercise, but I wouldn't suggest that everybody here has to go through party political lines. I would, however, say that we could, or some of us could, with the backing of others, use the party politics of both, well, I don't say both, where the Liberal Democrats, I don't know. But the Labour Party and the Conservative parties have both made noises that are supportive of trans in a way that they have no idea what the implications are. We need to make them aware, and we need to make aware other women. I'm not being anti-trans when I say this. I am being pro-woman. And by the way, and I'm saying particularly because Pam Isherwood is here with the camera, you will not see me in a dress anytime soon.
Oh, shame.
Even when I went to get my blasted, what did they give me, an OBE, I wore, actually it was this suit, but with the matching trousers, and Her Majesty did stop for a minute, and the equerry said, yes ma'am, it is the right one, and gave me the girl gut. I don't know what it's all not very sensible, any of this stuff. However, there are lots of women, lots of girls who have now access to things that I did not have, and many of us who are older did not have when we were young. There were things we were not allowed to do. So education, science, there was a whole host of things we could not do. And other women fought for our rights. Not only the right to vote, but the right for education, the right to play sports. And now, what do we find? Just as we're beginning to enjoy freedom, a group of young men and older men seek to take away those rights by claiming to be women, and therefore invalidating all that we have fought for. So, as you can probably tell, I'm a bit pissed off. And I do intend to use the law. I'm credited as saying that I would thump, or I don't know what the word was, but I would hit to what I thought were young men. They now claim to be young women. I mean, they look like young men, and I suspect that even if they claim now to be young women, they grew up and have the sinews, strength, etc. of young men. So they represent a physical threat to all women if they attack, as they did attack Maria. I was responding to that. The only violence there has been by those people towards a woman. I said I would defend myself. And I said that because I was in the 1950s, when I was a small child, there weren't many black people in Britain. There weren't many black people in London. There were 30,000 black people as a whole in the United Kingdom. My father had the wisdom to teach me to fight. I had to. I have to tell you that if two young white men, and frankly, if two young black men sought to attack me, I take my glasses off and I put my fists up and I use them. I have never, despite the provocation that many conservative MPs and councillors have provided for me, I have never struck a man except in self-defence. The only time I have ever, and what's more, I will do so again.
Yeah.
We should all be capable of defending ourselves against physical attack. I have never knowingly, neither do I intend to strike first. And I have to tell you, I'm also 67 years old. At the end of this year, I'll be 68. I'm less strong than I used to be. Can't run quite as fast, but I can still defend myself, and I will. It is not a crime in this country, unless it's a crime if you're an elderly black woman. Because we should all be capable of choosing the right thing to do. Running, fighting, or talking our way out of a difficult situation. But why on earth should we be placed in that situation? That's the point. If men, I do think men should be changing some of their attitudes about violence to each other, and about violence against women. And I say that as a proud lesbian, as a proud black woman. We should all be capable of defending ourselves as best we can. Some of us will have more ability to do that than others. But it isn't a crime, except in my case, apparently. Thank you.